I drew inspiration from these to get to these. Let's see how. Hello, I'm back with another Concept 2 shot video. This time my concept involves Agent Venom, the Agent Venom figure that I talked about in my New Year's resolution video, and some ideas I had for him. One of my favorite ways to store ideas and inspiration is using the Apple app Freeform. It comes free on, I think most Apple devices, even the iPhone. I usually use it on my iPad, and what I like to do is store what I call posing boards on there, and I'll go to places like Pinterest or just searching the web in general, and save pictures of like particular characters that I would like to shoot in particular poses or situations. So for Agent Venom, I have a posing board with a lot of different shots of Agent Venom I found from various places. And there were two of them that stood out to me that I decided, you know what, I want to make a shot inspired by these pictures. Let's start with this one. As you can see, this is Agent Venom kind of jumping out in front of like a fiery explosion type background. He's got the web shooting out. He looks pissed, which, Agent Venom is wont to do. So I wanted to get a shot very similar to this. So I took Agent Venom, set him up in a very similar pose. Being a Revolt Tech figure, he's very easy to get into those types of poses. Then I put him on a wooden skewer. Skewers implanted in some styrofoam, and that kind of suspends him, and I can suspends him in the air, makes it look like he's jumping, and then I can remove the skewer later in Photoshop or Lightroom. I guess you could do it in both. I did it in Photoshop because I like the way it does it better than Lightroom. But anyway, stood him in front of a portable monitor that had the fiery explosion background, had one orangish reddish light off to the side to be like the fire, one kind of muted light up top to get kind of a general source of lighting. Took the shots with my 85mm prime, kind of up close, to get a real tight shot because I wanted to fill up the whole frame in the final shot. Took those shots to Lightroom, did my usual editing there, took it into Photoshop, removed the wooden skewer, obviously, don't want that in the final shot. And then what I did is I decided I wanted to add a little more depth to the photo, to what was going to be my final shot. So I copied the photo, made a new layer in Photoshop, applied a radial blur to it, then added a mask to it, and basically only revealed on the edges of the photo the radial blur. Kind of seamlessly blended it in, so it wasn't completely radial blurred, and I think that gave the picture a feeling of depth with the fiery background and Agent Venom jumping out of it. Pretty happy with how that came out. Here's the final shot. All right, and now let's move on to the next one. I was inspired by this picture right here. Whereas the first one was very warm in tone, this picture or drawing is very cool in tone. It's kind of Agent Venom kind of stalking, looking down with his gun. So I decided to pose up Agent Venom in a very similar pose. The only difference I made was I added all his cool, like, I don't know how to describe him, tendrils sticking out of his back, holding extra guns, so that not only was he holding his gun looking down, he also had his extra guns looking down, because I thought that looked really cool. I put him on a piece of rocky terrain, which is just some aquarium terrain I bought cheap on Amazon, and then just had a blackboard as the background. So it was just him, the terrain, and the black background. Had a blue light off to the side with a bounce card to the other side. And then a top light, a very muted top light to give a general source of lighting. Shot this again, also with my 85mm prime. This time in a landscape orientation instead of the portrait, which is what I did for Agent Venom. Usual thing, shot it, got into Lightroom, did the edits, brought it into Photoshop where I added smoke. I did two versions of this photo in Photoshop with some differing smoke effects and a different approach. One is a little bit lighter, one's a little bit darker. Overall, I'm happy with how this photo turned out. I just think in comparison to the first one I did, this one seems a little flat. In Agent Venom, I think because I wanted to get the tendrils all inside the frame, he ends up looking a little smaller, especially compared to the inspiration where it's a tight in shot. This is much more wide, so you can see all the tendrils. So I'm not really happy. It looks a little flat to me. If I had to do it again, I'd probably keep the tendrils, but not, not feel the need to get them all in frame. Maybe have them all poking in into the frame in various ways, interesting ways, and getting tight in on him with his gun, looking down somewhere mysterious. But overall, I'm happy with how both these shots came out. And it was a fun. It was fun. It was fun going from these inspirational pictures to then my final shots. And anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching the video. And if you've made it this far, just know the Dark Lord Nyx has taken notice. All hail Nyx, until shadow covers all.